Hello to all the Python lovers. Welcome once again to your channel Computer Science with Meena Dogra. Hope all of you are doing great. Hope all of you are hale and hearty. Well, in this video, I am going to explain how we can make this pattern. It's there in front of you, and I've taken 3 samples. It will be again, the code will be applicable to any number of output lines for any given character. Fine. So this is going to be a generalized code. I am going to design it using a single for loop and a replication operator. As such, Python is super duper easy. We'll require 2 inputs. We'll ask the user to tell us how many times the repetition has to take place, and then we ask the user to enter the character which is to be repeated. Now see, there is a slight difference, like we'll be repeating the character n number of times, where this n will be an integer entered by the user. And next, let's see what happens when this pattern is going to, how do we interpret this pattern. Fine. Before I proceed, I'll just let you know that this video will be, my target audience for this video is obviously every Python lover and students of class 12th, 11th and 12th studying in Cbse board, having computer science as their 6th optional or 5th optional, and every Python beginner who knows how to apply loops. Fine. So this is my pattern. I'll now explain this one to you. See, user is entered how many times? 3, and the character is asterisk. So what we are going to do? We are going to multiply asterisk with 3. This replication operator, using the replication operator, I'll be multiplying asterisk by 3. So what will that give me? It will give me a line of output in which asterisk will be replicated 3 times. Fine. When a character is multiplied with an integer, the character is duplicated or replicated that integer times. Okay, so 3 asterisk multiplied by 3 will give me this. Now, this whole line also has to be repeated 3 times. Fine. So I'll repeat. First thing is I have to create this. How will I create a line? I'll create a line by multiplying the value of times with the character. So this gives me first line. And how many lines now I want? I want these many number of lines. Times number of lines. In this case, it's 3. So 3 times my line will get repeated. So repetition of the character also giving us the line, and then repetition of the line also n number of times, where n is an integer entered by the user. This is how I'm going to get this pattern. Let's see the second sample. I've entered 4 as number of times. I've entered the @ symbol. Okay, as the character that I want to be replicated. Now 4 multiplied by @ it is going to give me this single line where @ has been replicated 4 times. Now the second target is how this line too has to be repeated 4 times. So here I'm getting 4 lines, 1 2 3 4, and each line, how many @ symbols I'm having? 1 2 3 4. So replication is taking place to generate one line, character multiplied by the integer, and then this line is also getting printed n number of times, where n is the integer user has provided. Now let's check the third example. Enter times is 5, enter character is ampersand. So 5 into times ampersand gives us a string which is having 5 ampersands. Fine. And then this string also has to be repeated 5 times. So 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. Character replicates 5 times to give me one line of output, and then this line itself is to be printed 5 times. So I hope the requirement is clear. If the requirement is clear, I'll take up the explanation of this code. Now I've taken the second sample for the sake of explanation. I'll show you the code quickly. In this code, I've taken 2 objects like times, in which I've asked the user to enter the number of times replications to take place, and then the character in ch variable, and then this single for loop with a single statement inside its body. Fine. So now how do I go about it? Let's check. See. So as such, I'm calling this variable times, and I am calling this variable ch. So what would have been my sequential code, children? My sequential code would have been print ch multiplied by times. Okay, so at multiplied by 4, it would have given me this first line. Then the second line also I would have written in the same manner, print ch multiplied by times. This would have given me the second line of output. Then print third time again, print ch multiplied by times. This would have given me the third line of output, and then print ch multiplied by times. This would have given me the fourth line of output. So, but I am not supposed to be writing this way now, because this is not a practically feasible choice, especially if the number of lines grow, number of replications increase. So how do I convert this into a loop based construct? Fine, so loop based कैसे बनाएंगे इस कोड को, this sequential code. Now let's check. I know my requirement. My requirement is to print the character entered by the user into times number of times. This is my requirement. So I'll just write this statement once. And now what do I need to do? I need to run this statement also 4 times. In this example, 4 times. I need to run this statement also, children, 4 times. Fine. So this statement has to be repeated how many times? Times number of times. So times is my variable in which I am storing the integer, which is telling me the replication value. Fine. So times number of times. In this example, it is 4. So, but I have to keep it generalized, because if user enters 5, the character will be printed accordingly. If he or she enters 3, it will be printed accordingly. So I'll put my for loop over here. I have to just make a loop that should run times number of times. Fine. So I'll name my variable in. I'll put a range. I'll put the range function, and in this range function, what do I need to do? I have to execute this loop times number of times. For example, if this loop is value of times is 4, what should I write? From 1, okay, from 1 time, I'll mention over here 1, and then I'll mention times. I could have even written times because वो 0 से times तक चलता, but I'm starting from 1 and I'm writing comma times. But then this is not going to give me the last line, because when you write range 1 comma times, what is going to happen? It is going to start from 1 and stop at times minus 1. So I want it to run till times. So what I'll mention over here, times plus 1. Times plus 1. So now let's check. This is my loop is over. This how many times this loop will run? For example, if time stores 4 children, range will be generated as range 1 comma 5 times plus 1 5 हो जाएगा ना 1 comma 5, and this is going to give me integers 1 2 3 4. A list of integers 1 2 3 4. Now how will this loop run? First time n will store 1 from this sequence, and then my loop body contains a statement ch multiplied by times, like at multiplied by 4. This is going to give me the first line. Then my n will store 2, and my output will again be ch multiplied by times, like at multiplied by times. Similarly for 3 also. Now in this loop, now I'm not making use of the loop variable anywhere inside the loop body. This loop is being written merely to execute this statement, print statement, times number of times. Okay, so ch multiplied by times, I'm using times at 2 places. I'm multiplying the character with times, and I'm also ensuring at the same time that this statement gets repeated times number of times. So 4 times the character will be replicated, and the line generated will also be repeated 4 times. Fine. So this is 3. Once it's 3, again this loop will run for the third time, printing at multiplied by 4. And when last value that n is going to store will be 4, and again the last line ch multiplied by times, like at multiplied by 4, 4 times replication of at will take place on a separate line. Now print changes the line automatically. Then this my loop is going to get over. So this loop I'm using only and only to execute this statement repeatedly times number of times. Fine. So this is how such a simple code. Okay, you have to make use of the times variable at 2 places. Now let's execute this code, and when I start this, I enter times 4 and I enter at, my pattern gets generated. Let's make a small change in this code and check. What if I write only times over here? Let's make a small change and observe, children. I write 3 and then I write suppose asterisk. My code works perfectly. Why? Because this times 0. Now when I don't mention the first, like when I mention only one thing inside range, it is treated as stop, and then the start will be assumed as what, 0. So it will be like range 0 comma times. Again this loop will run times number of times automatically. Like suppose a user enters 4, it is going to run from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So this for loop is only ensuring that the fourth statement, that is the printing of the character, replicated by times, it should take times number of times. So you could have written only times, then start would have been assumed as 0, default value would have been used, or you could have written explicitly starting from 1 and then mentioning times. Now here you have to be sure that you have to write times plus 1, so that times minus 1 per this loop should not stop. Okay, so let me execute it again, and this time I will enter 5 times. Let me take ampersand, and it is running. Okay, so this is how this pattern is working. I hope you've understood it's working, and I'm sure you must have found it very simple also. So do watch this video. Let me know your this thing feedback in the comment section. This is the 5th lecture that I've uploaded for pattern designing, and please watch the previous 4 lectures also, and I'll wait for your feedback. This is what I eagerly, wait for. Don't be stingy in providing your feedback, because that motivates me a lot. So till we meet again, happy learning. God bless you and take care. बाय बाय. मिलते हैं बहुत जल्दी एक नए वीडियो के साथ. थैंक यू.